Welcome to the sixth Lightning Talk event put on by the team at KEEZ, where we give community members a 5-minute spotlight to talk about whatever they want in whatever medium they prefer. With these Lightning Talks and ultimately KEEZ in general, we're trying to set up an environment where information and knowledge is constantly being shared and dispersed. Come and share because your words may spark inspiration in minds of others and drive new innovation in the LUKSO ecosystem. These are hosted weekly and are recorded and posted on our YouTube. Quick disclaimer, people may choose to use this time to talk about a project they're working on or something they may have invested in. KEEZ does not endorse anything brought up in these chats, and as always, do your own research. We have, as of right now, me, Presto, and Florian that are going to be presenting today. And then, as always, if anyone from the crowd would like to come up and talk, we can do so. We were off the last, 2 weeks now. Just because KEEZ members were on vacation, taking some time off, stepping back a little bit. From now on, I'm going to try to be here at least myself every week. We were going to do the last 2 weeks, but we just didn't really get a whole lot of traction from speakers. So regardless on if we have speakers or not, I will be here, at least giving some KEEZ updates or giving my own lightning talk or being here in case someone who didn't get scheduled wants to come and chat. So Presto, Florian, either one of you guys care to go first at all? Or I know we didn't discuss who would go first or not. I can also go first if we want to. Let's see if either one of them raises their hands real quick. Florian's flexible. Sounds like he'd like to go first. So bringing to the stage, we got Florian, co-founder of the app that we're using currently, Common Ground. Florian, how are you today?
Yeah. Very good. Cool. Awesome. Okay, guys, I've been asked to speak today, and I think it's perfect timing. Lots of you have been asking what we're up to, when LSP8 support, and so on. So today I want to do some real talk, really show you everything that's going on under the hood, including what we're working on when the LSP8 support is coming, and very open to your feedback. I don't know if I can do it in the 5 minutes. Are we dogmatic on the 5 minutes, or are we flexible?
Slow show today. You can take a little extra time if you'd like.
All right, awesome. Okay, let me try to share the screen because that used to be an issue, as we remember. All right. Good. Okay, it seems to be working. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. So when we started out with Common Ground, we saw that there is a coordination problem in Web3. We just couldn't pinpoint it that well. And now, 2 years into our journey, this is sort of where we are at the moment. What we see is that Web3 ecosystem, so this sort of imagined collective of communities working towards one shared goal, such as is in the case of LUKSO, that there is a lot of friction in how these communities coordinate, come together, and sort of produce value for that ecosystem and these shared goals. And it's pretty much a unique sort of across the board. It's sort of these three problems: that there is a lack of information exchange, lack of communication venues, and a lack of collaboration that emerges from that. So the challenge we've set for ourselves is to give on-chain organizations, and we can go into what that really means, the tools to scale their collaborative surface. And we really have our eyes set on three sort of pillars to make that work. That is on-chain reputation, on-chain governance, and on-chain finance. Bring these three primitives to communities in an effortless and comprehensive way. And we don't think that has been done yet. There are many building blocks, but there is no comprehensive way to actually tie it all together and make it feasible for a huge amount of people. And this is also obviously where LUKSO is an amazing ecosystem. This is where we are at the moment, a super app for Web3 ecosystems and all their communities. LUKSO is really our prime ecosystem. It's the most active, most lively, and really demonstrates the viability behind this idea here behind Common Ground. For the first 2 years, we've really been focused on building voice calls, posts, and chats for communities. That's what we use every day. We made this sort of unique combination with gating for communities, so that you can use a token on a number of blockchains to gate roles, and with these roles you can gate chats, posts, live calls, broadcasts, and so on. So that's pretty much what kept us busy for the first 2 years of our journey. And now we really have our eyes set on bringing communities on chain. And that means many, many things. But the goal of it is to accelerate the adoption of these primitives across entire ecosystems, right? And so we believe token issuance, so make it easy for a community to have their own token or tokens, make that really easy, tie into that a reputation system that lives on chain and that can potentially be tied to these tokens that a community issues. So there are, I think, interesting ways to think these two primitives together, actually. And I think actually we've seen really interesting things in LUKSO, be it chill whales and the cultural currency that they issued, be it our discussions that we had in the KEEZ DAO and the reputations channel. And I think somebody proposed a reputation standard somewhere on Twitter. I think it's connected to the ETHDenver hackathon. So stuff is moving here, in particular in LUKSO. And other things we find interesting is community vaults. So this idea that a community manages their shared assets together, be it their tokens, be it other assets that a community wants to own and sort of collectively manage. And that obviously these sort of shared assets tie into community governance and make communities be able to actually decide about all these things together. In order to make that happen, we compose Web3 primitives into a delightful user experience. I might have shared that slide before, I don't know, but so across different chains, identities, and protocols, we want to sort of pick the best things, make them work together, and make them work for communities. And I think what's particularly of interest here is the fact that we have this LSP7 and LSP8 gating in the works. It's already on our staging environment, and we're pretty confident that we can deploy it to production next week. So maybe even Friday, but that's very optimistic. So let me just say that most likely next week. But there are other kinds of interesting protocols out there. There's, for example, Kleros, which is really interesting for governance and dispute resolution. There's obviously Snapshot, which is, I think, in the EVM ecosystem, the most popular tool for on-chain and off-chain governance. And there are things around fundraising like Juicebox, on-chain roles like hats. So a lot of interesting stuff is happening. Another one that I want to highlight is, for example, Farcaster. So I've been noticing, on Twitter over the last couple of days, some sentiment in the LUKSO ecosystem saying that maybe on Common Ground we don't get enough exposure with LUKSO. We need to do more marketing. We need to be active, on X and Discord, because that's where people are. I think that's obviously true to some extent, but I think there's also this other way that we really find interesting, which is actually to bring together these fragmented Web3 ecosystems and share this exposure that this brings with all the ecosystems. And for example, if you look at Farcaster and even Lens, right, they have, like, Farcaster now has around 100,000 users. They've grown a lot recently. And it's a completely permissionless protocol with, I would say, 100,000, Ethereum maxis on there who should all be interested in the LUKSO standards and the LUKSO ecosystem. Obviously, it's already EVM. Well, on Common Ground, we could actually bring these two worlds together by integrating Farcaster, making it a really good Farcaster client, which I think is achievable for us, and then bringing that all these people, these 100,000 people, to the doorstep of the LUKSO ecosystem, right? So there are actually really interesting avenues that we can go that are far more interesting than being like, well, okay, there's not a million people on common ground. Let's go back to X in Discord, which sort of also defeats a little bit the purpose of why are we even building these new Web3 networks, right? I think it's about actually finding common ground, bringing these things together, and that's the mission that we're on. Now, let me share a little bit where we stand in terms of growth. So we've really grown massively, essentially since November, since we launched the LUKSO and the Fuel ecosystem. So really amazing where we are right now. We're really excited about it. And at the same time, we think there's so much more room here to grow. So this is just the total number of users signed up on Common Ground. This is the number of people visiting Common Ground in a given month. So we're sort of coming towards about 100,000 visitors per month. And we've done some Net Promoter Score survey that you might remember as well. And we've increased there as well. And we now have a Net Promoter Score above 50, which is supposedly sort of the best in class. So obviously the app has a lot of bugs, but the people that use it love it so much that they say, hey, they would immediately recommend it to a friend. So that's pretty cool. In terms of, well, how do we actually want to monetize Common Ground? Like, what's the business strategy here? There's sort of two important things to know. Number one, we want to make Common Ground a community-owned business. So that means on the long run, we want the majority of ownership of Common Ground to be with its users, right? So as you know, my background is in law, and I'm basically designing the system to make that possible. At the same time, in order for Common Ground to exist for the next 20 years or more, we need to make it a financially sustainable business. So what we have happening on Common Ground right now is we have initial revenues through B2B software as a service agreements and integration partnerships, grants, those sorts of things. So that's our current income. And next week, hopefully, we're actually going to launch an entirely new monetization stream on Common Ground, which is going to be premium features for communities. So a lot of you have asked us for certain features or certain things. And while Common Ground will always stay free in the way that you use it right now, we're going to introduce, additional features that are sort of based on a subscription model or one-time payment model, depending on the feature. So hopefully that's going to launch next week, and we'll sort of add another monetization stream. Sort of down the road, and something that we're setting our eyes on right now is sort of a third tier, which is Common Ground acting, as something like a marketplace or a place where you issue tokens or where you can do transactions of some kind, where we're a facilitator and we can take a commission. The main goal here would be that we facilitate people, and in particular communities, to earn revenues on Common Ground through something. And by enabling them to do it, we can take a small, commission of whatever they make, and thereby add another sort of third tier to Common Ground's business model. All right, sort of last slide. So how were we able to build all of this? So Common Ground, obviously, we've been on this journey for 2 years. We pay salaries to developers, designers, loads of people, lawyers. And we were able to do all of this because we were funded by business angels in the Web3 space, literally some of the most OG people in Ethereum and related ecosystems. So literally people that have built Ethereum since 2014 and that kind of thing, even earlier, have funded Common Ground so far. Now we're in talks with tier 1 VCs, among the biggest in the space, who are reaching out to us to sort of do sort of a next round. We got to hire more people, more developers, and so on. At the same time, we want to make sure that, so I mentioned it, we want to be a community-owned platform. So the majority of ownership should be with the community. That means there's a limit to what we can actually sell to VCs. And so already starting with this round that we want to do now, we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for the community to co-invest alongside VCs. And that's something we will reach out to, all of our loyal users over the next couple of weeks about regarding that opportunity. So you've heard it here first. Those of you who are interested will be able to, join another chapter in this journey, which we're super excited about. Okay, that was it. thank you very much. Sorry for taking way more time than was allotted to me, but I hope it was interesting.
Yeah, no, that was great to hear, Florian. Always love the updates. I mean, so much information there. I love to see the potential for integrations on the platform. Seeing hats on Common Ground would be personally one of my favorites. I would absolutely enjoy that. Also curious if the premium features are payable in Lux. Is that going to be an option, or is that? I wonder if he's frozen or am I? Rob, can you hear me? I think Florian's frozen. Oh, you can hear Florian too? All right, he's going to rejoin real quick. We'll hop him up here, see if he has any last minute thoughts. Florian, how are you? I cannot hear. Nope. What a bummer. All right, we'll go one more try. Here he is.
No.
All right, good to go.
Okay. So now I forgot your question, but maybe you can ask it again.
I was asking if the premium features will be payable in Lux.
Yeah. So yes, after many discussions also with Fabian how to do it properly, we will definitely introduce it. Unfortunately, it won't be there in V1 when we launch it. It will be stable coins only. And the reason is to make payable in Lux, we need to introduce an Oracle. And so that leads to a delay, but it should only be like 1 or 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know, to be honest. That's something we have to discuss with Jan. But yes, we want to make it payable in Lix, but it will, require some sort of Oracle infrastructure because the features are sort of priced in dollars. But that's it's just a technical hurdle. No, we're thinking about just in terms of what we want to do with the LUKSO standards. There are advanced discussions to actually use ERC 725 as the standard to bring every community on chain and make a community an on chain entity, because then you have sort of a route from which you can do token issuances, reputation issuance, where you can do governance, maybe multi-sigs, all kinds of sort of on chain things that are happening on the community level could be sort of rooted in this really versatile ERC725 on-chain object. So that we have advanced discussions on that. I think there's really interesting potential here. That comes obviously after LSP7, LSP8 gating, but I think there's some really cool stuff that we could do here.
Very cool. Yeah, really look forward to using those new features. And congratulations on hitting all those KPIs you had there. That's great to see too, those green charts.
Yeah, it looked great, and we're happy about it. Obviously, sort of this super growth has sort of gotten a bit more down at the moment. It's a little bit connected, I think, to sort of the LUKSO depression moment that a lot of people went through, which is normal, right? You always have these sort of attention cycles. We're really happy where we are right now, and hopefully we can sort of leverage that into sort of the next growth phase. And I just want to sort of maybe take 1 second here to talk again about the potential of connecting more Web3 ecosystems. So I know LUKSO is very focused on itself, and this is true for every ecosystem. It's totally normal. But I think the question is, where can we find more growth for LUKSO, which also translates into growth for Common Ground? And I think trying to play the Twitter game, obviously it's important to be present there, but I see a lot of potential in looking for more users in other Web3 ecosystems, such as, for example, Farcaster, which is really this content network. It has more this creator touch. It's very orthogonal in a sense to the chain technology and standards that we have with LUKSO. So I think that is something we could all sort of brainstorm about I'm doing that a lot currently. I mean, I've been following this project for a long time, and they've seen this, rapid growth pretty much in parallel to Common Ground also. So I think there are these general market forces at play that sort of discover Web3 social. So I would really not sort of give up on this idea of Web3 social just now, but rather actually build it out from here. I think there's a lot of interesting growth that we can make happen on Common Ground by joining forces with others. So that's just my 2 cents here.
Yeah, love the 2 cents. I mean, we've definitely thrown
Okay,
around
cool.
keys, starting a keys account on Farcaster for the same
Cool.
reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
But all right, great to talk to you, Florian. I'm going to throw you down here, and we'll get Presto up here. Thanks again
Do
for
that.
coming on last
Yeah,
minute. You appreciate it.
obviously. Yeah. Ciao, guys.
Talk later. All right, coming to the stage now, we got Presto, the founder of Chill Whales. He's going to talk about some of his time at ETHDenver, and then any other general updates that the man might have. Presto, how are you?
I'm doing good, Sage. How about you? Can you guys hear me?
Can hear you great. Yeah, doing great here.
Perfect, man. Thanks for asking me to join. I, uh, I guess this was needed so I could share some alpha with you guys. This past weekend, I was at ETHDenver, basically in the LUKSO booth. The whole time I was there, I didn't really stray away, except I did leave a couple of times to go check out the Oracle stands and see what it would take to get oracles on LUKSO. So, just give me 1 second here. I want to pull up this little note that I wrote down. Just give me a brief second. All right. So I wrote this in my Chill Whales chat a couple of days ago, and it was just to give everybody a little bit of exposure of what I've been witnessing being around the LUKSO team and ETHDenver. So I'll go ahead and share this with you guys, and then I'll share a couple more thoughts that I have. So I wrote down that CoinGecko is currently in the works for anybody who was interested in learning about that. So the LUKSO ecosystem will soon be added. That means that NFTs will be most likely viewable on CoinGecko, as well as universal swaps and any other DApps being built. The Boys Club slash Luxo party that was called Frostbite had some major players attend that, and it was put together by Frostbite, or I'm sorry, by Boys Club and Luxo. These players that were there included the founders of Kraken, members of Coinbase, Guild, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of members from A16Z. So these guys are all very aware of what Luxo is. Obviously, we all want to see them, incorporate Luxo into their exchanges or collabs and so on. However, obviously, we need volume first, right? So we have the standards and everything is ready, but now's the time that we need builders. Um, as far as the Luxo team, they were definitely like the most appealing and stand they stood out the most at ETHDenver, just like having this pink stand and everybody wanted the drip. It was fucking awesome. Excuse my language. But they're very, down to earth and cultured, like everything that we believe that Luxo is, it truly is. So it was just like a really good relief not being in the Twitter echo chamber, within all the FUD and shit, waking up every morning and seeing a team actually working and then getting a better understanding of what's going on. As for the Oracle solution, so this is just what I witnessed. I went to the Chainlink booth and I spoke to a couple of people to see how we could incorporate Chainlink. It's basically very, very expensive to do so. And what they told me is, and they were aware of Luxo as well. And I spoke to a couple of like the head partners that were running the booth at Chainlink. They said that you need to start with a smaller Oracle, for example, API 3 or Teller. And once Luxo has, a certain amount of volume and a certain amount of exposure just throughout Web3, that's when Chainlink would either be adopted or we would adopt it. Um, think Circle, for example, like a stable coin. That's obviously something that we need. To do something like that, right? like I said, we would need some volume, but it wouldn't be hard for these guys to adopt the LSP standards. It just takes them to learn them really quick through the documentation. And we have all the builders and community members who would more than likely love to share this information. As for supporters, on the Twitter timeline, we see a bunch of FUD, everybody talking shit because the price is low. Basically, at the booth, everybody was ecstatic about LUKSO and ready to see the growth and ready to participate in different ways. I ran into plenty of people who were looking for grants, looking to build on LUKSO, and basically everybody there was just focusing on building these connections rather than just buying a fucking bag of LUKSO and waiting for the price to go up and waiting for Fabian to come out and create something new. So obviously, Fabian's the GOAT. He's an innovator and he basically made everything possible for us today. Like we're sitting here on Common Ground LinkedIn through our LUKSO or universal profile wallets, right? But the guy's running a whole chain, a team, and he definitely gets frustrated seeing like us core community members like arguing with each other online and stuff. So I mean, this is just like a personal take. If we could all just like cool it, focus on building, right? Keep our opinions to ourselves, man. And just like, if we have any opinions, really, like we could share that with each other. We're all pretty close, right? Like, I could easily DM Rob, Sage, Florian, and let them know however I'm feeling right now. And I could either, antagonize a situation or I can just back up off of it and focus on building and bettering our chain. Like we're here for a reason, right? Let me see what else I wrote down. I'm just going off of this big note. Sorry guys. Oh yeah, I did also have breakfast with Fabian. So shout out to Crypto Chick and Megan for giving me that little time that I had with him. He's a great guy. He is super smart. And he's basically saying, everything that is being built is for us to do something with and not just like sit there and hype it up. So these LSPs will need to be put to use, right? And a little bit of like alpha within our project. I know maybe some of you guys saw us share a little clip over the weekend. We're going to be utilizing some LUKSO standards, upgradable metadata, and utilizing the LSPs to their fullest extent that we can as of now, and basically showcase what LUKSO is capable of. So I recommend any builders that's in this right now. I see a couple of you guys, shout out to you. Focus on creating some cool shit and keep your head down throughout all the bullshit that you see on Twitter. Let's really show support to like the LUKSO team, in my opinion, and show them that regardless of price action, which obviously bothers them as well, we're still here for the long run and we're here to build. Yeah, man. I mean, I got one more thing to say. I'm basically stuck in the middle between a couple of communities right now. Obviously, I'm friends with KEEZ. I was around at the very beginning. Obviously, some of you may know that I'm also friends with Lucky. I hate to see you guys all arguing with each other, Universal Punks and KEEZ, but I understand, both of your guys' sides. And I just want to say it really does us no good, especially when we are the first core communities that everybody sees when they come to LUKSO Twitter and they see that we have some animosity or, some sort of negativity towards each other. And sure, maybe one of the two parties or both of you guys, I don't want to like call anybody out, um, feeds into it a little more than is needed. But if you guys could just, and when I say you guys, I mean the community as a whole, if we could just keep our fucking big boy pants on, right? And disregard all the bullshit that we're seeing and not feed into it, I think we'll end up leaving a nice mark on LUKSO rather than digging ourselves into the ground. So if anybody else has questions, I'd love to share. I probably didn't share everything that I knew or everything that went on there. Also, LUKSO threw a fucking banger, bro. I was kicking it with them, and it was just the time of my life, bro. Connecting with everybody and seeing how awesome it was, like just being a part of the community that's actually building, like the tech team, the dev team, the creators, the marketers. Yeah, man. So I just want to tell everybody stay chill. Thanks, Sage, for letting me up here. Shout out to Rob as well. Um, I'm here to support all you guys. I don't want to pick sides. I just want to see LUKSO grow. So, cheers.
Thank you, Presto. Spitting a whole lot of facts there, man. I mean, it's great to hear that stuff from ETHDenver. I know I'm a boys club member. I've been to a lot of their events. The LUKSO events are always some of the more fun ones, especially because I know more people that are there. It's always great to hang out with the team in like a party setting, not a Twitter setting, not like a off chain, like a offline chat, just like a nice, calm setting. Hearing the news about who attends those things too, I've had similar experiences. That's great. And I definitely feel your sentiment around. It's great to be able to express the feelings of frustration, but as we're continuing to grow, we're growing to grow past that frustration. So you can't just let it linger, right? Can't let it sit on you. Got to be able to support all parties involved. Got to be able to continue moving forward, but also have to be able to express your feelings without, getting thrown down to the ground or anything like that. So I don't have a whole lot to throw on to that whole situation between, again, it's more like members of different subgroups. But again, I love people to be able to express their feelings, and I love even more to be able to move past them. So great. Appreciate your feelings there, Presto. Anything else to add?
And basically, one last thing to add, right? Let's just remember that LUKSO is a decentralized network, and whether we like communities or not, which obviously we had to deal with a bad community a couple of months ago. I don't want to bring that one community up, but whether we like these guys or not, and whether their intentions are good, um, anybody could come and build here, right? And as we grow and we get to like a bigger market cap and, more Web3 names are aware of us, it's basically going to be inevitable that bad actors will be here. So the best thing we could do is just disregard them. I recommend a mute button. A mute button is way better than a block button because, maybe somebody will see that and then try to start talking shit, just like future references. Obviously, everybody's entitled to do whatever they want, but I'm just trying to think of a better way to grow our ecosystem together as a whole. So shout out to all you guys building. Shout out to Sage and Rob again for hosting these talks, and I'm looking forward to seeing them every week.
Yes, sir. Great points again, Presto. Thanks for coming up too. Last minute, I asked the man this morning because we were low on guests, and he hopped up here real quick. So definitely appreciate that. And again, Presto, anytime you need, you can come onto these shows or hit us up at KEEZ if we can help you in any way. All right, cool. Throw Presto down here, and then I'm just going to spend a quick 5 minutes, do my own little lightning talk here, and then if anybody down in the crowd wants to come up and chat, hit me up in the chat, and I can bring you up. So my lightning talk this week is going to pretty much just be some information about KEEZ, as we've been off now for 2 weeks, little 2 weeks plus of not off as we've been active on Twitter, but core members have kind of taken some time to step back a little bit. So I'm going to present some information on some of that. Again, I'm Sage, core contributor at KEEZ, Lightning Talk host. I'll be here every week. And again, as you guys know, KEEZ taken a brief hiatus this past couple weeks. It feels like the next several months extended to the end of the year going to be absolutely crucial for LUKSO. So if there's any time to take a vacation, felt like now. So it's also a good time, though, to step back and evaluate KEEZ and the role it plays in LUKSO as we're going to be making those steps forward. In doing so, we had a couple realizations that I'd love to share with you guys here. One, as Florian also addressed, and I noticed that based on both of their talks, I'm going to hit on some key themes as well. We need to do a better job of attracting people that are outside of LUKSO. When I look at something like Bankless, right, I wonder how they've amassed such a large following. I look at like some of the things that we do in LUKSO, where we say constantly, like, we need more marketing, we need to do better marketing, we need all these things. And then constantly I see people like on Twitter finding some comments of other people around in different ecosystems and hitting their comments being like, universal profiles are great, LSP standards are awesome, right? Talking a lot about the what and the how and not a whole lot about the why, right? And then you look at something like Bankless, right? And they're never talking about I mean, they do talk a lot about Ethereum wallets and the blockchain uptime and Ethereum standards, but that's never the direct selling point, right? They sell the why for this technology, and they push an idea for a better future, right? The idea that you can become bankless, or you can become financially free through this technology. You can become a self-sovereign individual, right? Those are a lot of a bigger selling point than just like, hey, there's this ERC20 token, it's going to be able to do XYZ, right? So in looking at that, I think that KEEZ is going to take a lot of notes from that. A lot of the best companies in the world, Apple and so forth, sell with the why, right? So KEEZ is going to, one, try to adapt its messaging a little bit more, and then also adapt the delivery of its messaging. For the most part, up until now, our content has been directed at people that are already consuming LUKSO. For example, my newsletter, I write that thing almost entirely through the lens of someone reading it that is already around LUKSO, right? I should be considering writing it in the sense of people who have never even heard of LUKSO before, so that when they're reading it, they're getting like the base level, right? And then everybody else that already knows LUKSO, just like for the bankless stuff, anybody who already follows Ethereum is still going to consume the content, right? They're just going to kind of see past that initial selling point, or better yet, constantly be reminded as to why they're here. So that was a couple points that we've definitely been thrown around. Another realization is the power of IRL connectivity. It feels like, just as Presto feels and as I feel after I come back from every large crypto event, that we always come back way more bullish, right? Even if I'm super down on LUKSO for the weeks prior to it, I go to it and then I come out of it and I'm like nice and fueled and ready to go, super bullish on what's going on. It comes from meeting new people and attending events, and just getting some IRL connectivity going. So that being said, I think KEEZ has never done any IRL events before, but it's definitely on our radar for now. Which brings us into another consideration that we've been thinking about, which is our sponsors and partnerships. As of right now, we have two, one being Liquid and one being Common Ground. We would love to be able to make more, and I think that another great way to solve that initial issue of attracting more people that are outside of LUKSO would be getting sponsors that aren't in the LUKSO ecosystem. Both of ours, as of right now, are, and we welcome more from the ecosystem. But finding some that are outside the LUKSO ecosystem is going to, one, bring their audience's eyes to us as well, but also help legitimize our ecosystem and show that we're not just bolstering projects that are building on LUKSO to bolster them, right? There's other people that are outside the ecosystem that are feeling what's going on here and can recognize that there's value in it, right? So these kind of themes that have been floating around are just some narratives that we're going to continue moving on as we go forward. And the last one that you might have picked up on a little bit, that again Presto brought up with oracles, and I've seen in the chat now, Florian brought up that LIX won't directly be tradable for their premium features. It's just going to only be stable coins. So the last one that again sparked from some conversations with the ETHDenver is the idea around DeFi on LUKSO. No economy, not even a creative one, can thrive without proper financial rails. Projects need funds, people need funds, tokens need liquidity, audits cost money, right? You need all of these things in order to be able to function. And although this may be against some of Fabian's statements in the past, where he stated we don't need DeFi on LUKSO, KEEZ will be pushing what is best for the chain for the long run, and working to bring liquidity and fluidity of finances is a necessity. So not only in our messaging, but in any efforts that we make outside of just like the content and the marketing that we put out, it's going to be around kind of pushing whatever is, at least we at KEEZ think is what is necessary for the chain's utmost success in the long term. So these are just some considerations to make. I felt the need to share them with everyone as a good update to KEEZ. We haven't done our quarterly updates in a while, which we're coming up on Q2 of 2024, so we'll likely get one out. But I like to update the community on kind of our thinking, especially because the messaging that we put out, all the content is often really derived based on the feelings of the community, right? So if you guys have sentiment, I noticed that there's a lot of people coming out of the woodworks when we start mentioning DeFi, right? If you guys have sentiment on how we might be able to push this messaging out or how we might be able to move forward on some of this tech, definitely reach out and we'll be able to incorporate some of that into our messaging as well. But yeah, that's all for me today. Again, excited to be back on these lightning talks. I will be here every week. Again, time's going to be roving a little bit. For next week, we got some hits from some Aussies that want to come on and present. Mboy and with the, I'm not sure if Zaid will be able to come on next week. But with Platty's minting on the 12th, we'll have to get him on sometime soon so he can chat about that. So time may be shifting to a little bit of a later time next week, but again, as always, we'll update on our Twitter and provide the link so you guys can add it to your calendars too. So with that being said, it doesn't look like let me check and see if anyone else said they wanted to come. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Sounds good. Great lightning talk here. Presto, Florian, again, thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys coming up last minute when we didn't have a whole lot of guests here. And I will be back next week. Stay tuned to our Twitter for, again, the recording and then more updates for lightning talks next week. Goodbye, everyone.